Okay. Thanks, Bruce, and thank you to everybody that's joining us. We wanted to get this started right away and keep all within the hour. There's some football games happening this afternoon, so thank you all for attending, and happy Thanksgiving to anybody south of the border. Also, thanks, Bruce, for hosting this webinar today. If many of you may not know, but Bruce is one of our very early settlers at Hammond Hill, and his unit is currently under construction up there. For those that don't know me, my name is Nick Cripps. My background primarily has been in real estate for the last about 15 years as a real estate broker. I joined the sales team with Small Living Company as their director of sales and also investor relations about a year ago, actually. So we've got a lot to get through. Bruce, if you don't mind maybe muting everybody just to minimize on the interruptions with background noise. Just so everybody knows, questions are more than welcome. Bruce is going to be keeping an eye on the chat box, and he'll interject with any questions that pop up as we get through this. We do have a lot to get through here, so let's get started. So right before we really start jumping into the meat of this, one of the most important features I think to highlight is the uniqueness of what Hammond Hill offers. And I'm going to go into more details in later slides, but zoning is a key piece. It really allows us to make the offers that we are currently, especially with some new regulations that are coming down the pipe, which we'll discuss again on a later slide. Also, the partnerships that we've made here with partnerships both in service providers as well as suppliers. West Carleton Outdoors, just to name a couple, Rethink Experience, Canadian Financial, Hammond Golf. So it really is a kind of work and play environment. Internet connection is really great up there. And again, the suppliers. So anyone from Ottawa Valley Metal to the brewery, which is located on site. Small Living Company as a company is very vertically integrated. So we're one small piece, which is Small Living Company, but we also have AIM Project Management, which does a lot of our construction, Country Digging, which does a lot of our excavation, Terrace Real Estate, which is the real estate side of this, Broken Stick Brewing Company, Hillview Siding, just to name a few. And I know I'm not covering everybody there, but those are the key pieces to everything that we do and how we're able to control pricing, keep our costs down, and make these offers to our customers.
Nick, just before you turn the slide, we should note that Jake, wave hello. Jake is attending from Hammond Hill, and it just shows how strong the internet is. And he's actually sitting, I think, in front of his own tiny house on the hill.
I am.
Jake is also, which we'll introduce later, but also our sales associate that's living the lifestyle. So he can, if you have any questions about what it's like to actually live up there, Jake is going to be the guy that can answer those questions. So a lot of what we've started here with Small Living Company actually started with AIM Project Management in the Rethink mindset. I don't know if anybody's familiar. I'm sure a lot of you on here have spoken to Aaron Markel on some other webinars. But the Rethink mindset really comes down to, we believe we can do something better with a little bit of thought. So instead of having third parties come in, things like the Rethink Experience, which is our event planning wing of Hammond Hill. So if you want to plan a wedding or a work retreat, those things, it's just a phone call or an email away. Hillside Barbecue is something we're really proud of. The menu, it's not your typical chip truck. The menu is curated by a certified and award-winning chef. And then you have a Broken Stick Brewery, which is another award-winning company under the umbrella that is a licensed brewery, both on the golf course and as well as on the campground. So we're one of the only campgrounds in Canada that does have a licensed beer garden on site. Events, which again, we'll get into at a later slide, but we have lots of events that go up there. Personal events like weddings, work retreats, but also some bigger concert series that we'll be doing next year. And then one of the other really unique features is Canadian-made entrepreneurs, and this is a new TV show, or sorry, TV show or streaming service that's going to be coming. That's going to really bring um, the look and feel of Hammond Hill and the development of how we're getting to where we're getting while we actually build these units and put them on site and really start to create this community. So our next slide here, I'm going to jump into, this is a North American Camping and Outdoor Report. It was done by KOA. I will be sharing this with everybody in an email after, so you can go into the details. I don't want to get too deep into them right now, but I just did want to kind of highlight a couple key pieces. Really in data, a lot of this is driven by the initial onset of COVID back in 2020. You can see the numbers and how they grow over that timeline from 2020 to now. And really what the data suggests is high retention in new campers. But when we look at it from more of what the offering is on Hammond Hill and what you would be buying into is the rise of glamping. Glamping, for anybody who's not familiar with it, is glamorous camping. And this segment of the market is what's really driving in a lot more new campers, if you will, people that would be a little bit more hesitant to go and sleep in a tent, prefer the glamour, if you will, of being in a hotel and having Wi-Fi and flushing toilets and warm showers to take. Just to give you a sense of how big this market really is, the projections currently as a global market, it's worth $2.7 billion. That was in 2022. And its projected annual growth rate from 23 until 2030 is 10.2%. So those numbers, I'm fairly confident if you were to look around other industries as far as investing in real estate right now, certainly in this economy, that's going to be one of your more attractive growth rates for the next 6-7 years. So one of the key pieces that is driving that demand is the experience that people are looking for. So you can see right at the top of that list there, food tourism. As I mentioned, Hammond Hill has really great restaurant options as well as a food truck. You're visiting small towns, adventure-based travel as well. We're going to be hosting various events. The one that's coming up this winter is a snowshoe race, which will be through the trails at Hammond Hill. And again, just people are looking for experiences. They're looking for connectivity and, experiencing nature without having to pop a tent and live in the bush entirely. So those are really key driving factors for what we're doing here at Hammond Hill. So a little bit more on the TV show, so everybody's aware. Filming is going to start this winter. We're going to be looking at getting some B-roll footage showing the park in its winter form. We don't close down. There are no seasonal shutdowns. The founders of Small Living Company, which are on this call, Brad Cartier and Aaron Markel, are going to be producing the show. The start date, as I mentioned, should be probably around February, March. And the really exciting part for you as potential investors here is that your homes will actually be featured on this show to drive traffic both for Hammond Hill, but also to show again what it takes to build a village, right? I mean, we're not just slapping homes on a piece of property and walking away from them. We have to dig infrastructure, we have to lay pipes, we have to lay electricity, dig lakes and all sorts of stuff. So that is going to be heavily featured as well as your homes. And there will be some opportunity for owners and investors to be included in that series. There will be a casting call. So ultimately, who gets cast on the series isn't up to us. That'll be up to the editors, but that is an opportunity. But your home most certainly will be featured on it and help drive traffic into Hammond Hill and eventually another village that we're working on in the Eganville area. So a couple statistics here, sorry, just for Ottawa market. So Ottawa's tourism, obviously we're the capital city in Canada. It's always been very popular. You can see here information pulled from AirDNA, which is sort of the back end of Airbnb, just showing what the market looks like here in Ottawa. Now, there are some key pieces of information that are really important. And if you haven't watched the news in the last week, there are some pretty significant regulatory changes coming to Ottawa. Most notably, the ban on Airbnb inside the city or for properties that aren't zoned properly to host Airbnb. So this is really a unique opportunity for Hammond Hill, because as a resort, our zoning does allow for short-term rentals. We are basically zoned as a hotel. The zoning specifically is called commercial tourism zoning, and it is exempt from the Airbnb ban. So as the market tightens and the offerings start to disappear, for at least for people who are operating legally, we're only 20 minutes from the downtown core of Ottawa, and people that are searching for that experience of the Canadian wilderness can do so in a hotel-like environment with all of those amenities, but still be a 20-minute drive from going and touring downtown or going to Parliament Hill or skating on the canal and those sort of things. So again, really unique in its proximity and its zoning, and the ability for people to earn an income legally and have the tax credits and HST advantages that one would have running an Airbnb legally. Sorry, folks, a second here. So one of the other key features outside of the short-term rentals is going to be the medium-term rentals. So this was actually not part of the plan originally when we started doing this. We always viewed this as more of a short-term rental project. However, as Jake is showing you there on the screen, sitting up at the tiny house, they work great as medium-term rentals. And the beauty of that is they're still commercial leases. So you're not dealing with the landlord-tenant board. But from an investor perspective, it also gives some certainty in sort of your shoulder seasons, spring, early spring, leading into fall, and obviously winter as well, when your number of short-term rentals isn't going to be as high. So this helps fill up those units, make sure there's still income coming in. And as you'll see when Bruce goes over his slide for the ROI, it's a very attractive option for anybody looking to get into short-term and medium-term rentals. So going into sort of the recession-resistant aspect of this, a lot can be said for the economy right now. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation around housing and interest rates and all of these sort of things that are affecting people in a negative way. But also from an affordability perspective, if you were to look, if we were to look beside us at RV campgrounds, which are, I would say, our main competition in this particular sector, there's a lot of news around specific companies, which I won't mention, raising their rates, and it's becoming very expensive for people to even have an RV. They got to purchase the RV, then they're paying now what land lease costs are really, really high, so it's making it unaffordable. If you look here, there's a chart on your screen there. Those are what's closest to us in Hammond, and it's important to note that these companies are doing seasonal shutdowns, so they're kind of May 2-4 weekend through till Labor Day weekend in September. And then they close down, they get ready for winter, it shuts down, and then it just sits there. So you're paying your land lease for the whole year or paying to store your unit, and there's no real income potential there. So if you look at, in comparison to what the offering is at Hammond Hill, so our land leases, you can sign from 3 years to 20 years. This does fix the pricing. So it's $350 a month is your land lease cost. That includes your, there's just lot maintenance, snow removal, all of those fees are included in your land lease. So really you own the unit, and then we manage the property around it for those land lease costs. Now, from a rental perspective, if you're in our rental pool, we also manage the rentals. We do the bookings, we do the turnovers. So it really is kind of a turnkey, set it and forget it offering. Now, in comparison, again, to flip over to the RV side, you just don't have that option. They don't let you rent it out. If you have guests, they have to pay an extra fee to even enter the property. So those are some real key differences. Yeah, one of the other ones is that although we only have 8 sites available right now for this particular promotion, you can have up to 2 tiny homes and a Pioneer home, which is a much smaller unit that doesn't have a bathroom in it. But so technically, you have 3 sleeping accommodations on one lot because we're not cramming them piled on top of each other. The lot sizes are quite generous. I think the smallest right now that we offer is a 50-foot by 50-foot lot. So even bigger than some townhouse lots that you would get in the city. A couple of the key features with Hammond Hill, again, we did mention it briefly, but we're attached to an 18-hole golf course, Hammond Hill or Hammond Golf. Brewery, as mentioned, is on site. We have the barbecue food truck and the restaurant. All of that stuff is within walking distance from your unit. So you can walk right down onto the golf course. You come out, I believe it's on the 5th tee, and you can walk just straight down and into the restaurant.
Nick,
yep.
Question for you.
Sure.
If somebody wanted to manage their tiny home or their 2 tiny homes and Pioneer home themselves, can they do that, or do they have to be part of the rental pool?
No, so for the sake of keeping everything fair, we manage the rental pool completely. So if you're opting into that, the way it works is 20% fee on the rental, the total rental cost or revenue. So the owner takes 80%, we take 20%, we do the cleaning, we do the turnover as mentioned. Each unit is delivered with 2 sets of linens. So turnover is quick and efficient, and there's no worry from the investor's perspective. The only thing the investor is on the hook for is I couldn't even really think of it as like a broken barbecue or something that just wear and tear items. Need to replace a barbecue, need to replace a mattress, that sort of thing. So moving on here, couple of things. Aaron is our kind of resident personality. So you can find, I've got a couple links here. And again, I'll send this out to everybody. So you'll have these links. We did a lot of media circulating this summer to really bring exposure to Hammond Hill and Eco Resort. Also with a small living company, and just getting the word out and making sure that people understood that we're not just a park or a small tiny home park where we offer camping. We have lakes, we have golf, we have live music and all of that sort of thing. So lots of things happening, lots of things moving. And Aaron was doing the rounds this summer. Also, I'll point out here, all of these links are live. We'll also include that in the email, so for everybody to follow us on social media. And there's also a build-up series on YouTube, which is really great because you can see where we started. We got hit by a storm, which if you're in the Ottawa area, you're familiar with the derecho storm, which was about 1.5 years ago now. So Aaron and Brad had opened this as a campground, had people actually on site when the storm hit. And we lost, I think it was about 4,000 trees or 12 acres of trees in under 5 minutes. And we pivoted into turning that loss of trees into what is now Hammond Hill and the Canada's first tiny home village. So there's a really cool story about that on YouTube if anybody's interested to go and check that out. So quickly, I'll introduce my team here. Everybody, not everybody's on this slide, so there's lots of people I'm going to miss, but some of the key people that are in front of you and on this call right now, as mentioned, founders Brad Cartier and Aaron Markel, myself, and the head of construction, which is Matt Richards. Lisa Leduc takes care of our marketing and social media. Mel St Pierre is our designer. So if you take the upgrade package to do some design work inside, you'll be speaking with Mel. of course, our coach, Bruce Firestone, and Patrick Labreche with Canadian Financial. He'll be talking on his slide coming up. I will say he's a little under the weather today, so we don't want to keep him too long, but he's taking one for the team and getting on in front of you. And like I said, there's dozens of people that are working on site. This is really a great crew up there. If you're around and want to just come and visit, they're a very friendly bunch of people and more than happy to show you around the hill.
And I can
I'm going to actually,
I can add something
sorry.
there. Every time I
Sure.
visit Hammond Hill and I get a tour from Aaron or from Brad or you or anybody else, my blood pressure goes down. I mean, I really mean it. It is, I think the Japanese call it forest bathing. It's so important to human health. You should try and spend at least 20 minutes outside every day, no matter what the weather.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great relaxer. And with that, on that note, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I skipped over Jake Baer. He's our sales associate. As Bruce mentioned, he is actually living on the hill, and he will be there for the winter. So if you do stop by and want to talk directly to a sales guy, let him walk you through. That's Jake. But I'm going to stop sharing because I want Jake to introduce himself, and he is sitting up on the hill right now by a campfire. And let's just do that. And Jake, all you.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Jake Baer. I grew up in a small town with really big focus on building community. And I'm going to be living in one of the Vanguard models here for 6 months over the winter to hopefully document and show you guys exactly what it's like to live here on Hammond Hill. As well, I'll be building them, working on some of the design features, and overall just living the small, tiny home life.
Perfect. Thanks, Jake.
A quick question for you. Can you put are you okay if you putting your email and cell phone number in the chat box, just so that people want to, reach out to you and get a real feel for what it's like, to do what you're doing right now, what it's like to experience the hill, they can reach out to you directly?
Yes, I can absolutely do that.
All right, so put that in the chat box for everybody. And we do have a question here. I'm not sure who it's from. Oh, it's from Pierce. Hi, do the lots have utilities and septic hookup, or are they off grid? Maybe Aaron should answer that.
Yeah, Aaron, do you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah, so we do have electricity. We're also working on a solar package. And in terms of the Blackwater, we have an incinerating toilet. We are the vendor for the area. It's called Cinderella Toilets. It incinerates all the human waste. So we create no Blackwater. The municipality, the city, the province, they love this model because it's really, really off-grade.
I'll also say, just to add to that, Aaron, a lot of this talk right now in the media about sustainability and affordability. If you're doing a village of this size, we'll look at the map here shortly. You're digging septics for each unit, or you're building a community septic or like a pond. I can't remember what you call them. Bruce, you'd know that better than me, but they have them at wilderness tours. So it's kind of like a septic pond where all the waste goes into, but these take up lots and lots of space. Obviously, there's a lot more construction costs to those. So the incinerating toilets not only help us deal with the Blackwater, but it also helps us keep the costs down. They're very expensive toilets, but they're a lot cheaper than a septic system. So a really great if
I could add
addition.
something for everybody. When Aaron first mentioned to me that these were called Cinderella toilets, I thought, oh, isn't that nice? These are composting toilets made for a princess, right? Like Cinderella. But that's not why they're called Cinderella. I mean, it took me a while to figure out they're called Cinderella toilets because they turn the black material into cinders. Isn't that right?
Oh, I didn't even know that. You just taught me something.
Oh, you didn't know that? Well,
I didn't know that. I
Aaron,
just figured Cinderella was going to the ball.
Yeah. So Aaron, unmute yourself. There was one more question for you. The units are winterized. How are they winterized with heat pump? I know you're the Mr. Eco on this call, Aaron. You could talk about heat pumps for an hour, but we don't have that much time.
Yeah, so the easy answer is all of our units are spray foam, so we have a better insulation value inside, and we use high efficiency Mitsubishi heat pumps that are capable of running these units down to ambient minus 25, and then we have a small backup heater outside of that. They're super efficient, they're very quiet, and they work great. As a matter of fact, Mitsubishi has made us a case study for all of Canada because of how we're using these units and how many of them we're putting on. So it's really interesting stuff on that end.
And Aaron, they provide cooling as well, right?
Correct.
Not that we need that much cooling in Canada, but we certainly need heat, but they do provide air conditioning as well.
Yeah.
I've stayed in the units at the heat of summer, like in the middle of August. I stayed in one of the first delivered units, and not only are they're so well insulated, you don't hear anything outside when your doors and windows are closed. But the cooling efficiency of those heat pumps is fantastic. It's very comfortable. So my next slide here, before I put it on the screen, is a teaser slide. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Hammond Hill is the first. We do have a second one in the pipeline. This is coming up. This is going to be a bit of a different experience because it's more focused around hunting and fishing and that sort of thing. So more of a backcountry experience. That's we're calling it Egan Village Eco Resort. It's going to be up near Eganville, Ontario. We are starting to take deposits on this, but the delivery for these units won't be until fall of next year. There's still some servicing to do up there and things to get ready for. But we're 80 minutes west of downtown Ottawa. It's a little bit further away. Again, more backcountry, lots of trails, 187 acres of space to explore. The lake there is Constant Lake, and we have 4,000 feet of frontage on that lake. And it's one of the top 5, I believe, top 2 pickerel lakes in Ontario. So they actually source a lot of the pickerel they stock other lakes with out of this lake. Again, open all year, guided fishing, ice fishing, snowmobile adventures, lots of different offerings here, but all on brand with what we're doing at Hammond Hill. So a couple of quick notes here. So as I mentioned, we do have a lot of events coming up. So 2 of our bigger events. One's coming up in February 22nd to the 24th, which is our Whiskey Wonderland event. If you're in the Ottawa area, or even if you're not, you want to come and try out one of our tiny homes, that's the weekend to do it. It is a really great event. If you're a whiskey lover or like your spirits, Brad's on the call. You can tell me how many vendors are there, but there's every top end brand of whiskey is pretty much there for tastings, and it's a fantastic event. We have live music. The Summer Spirits Festival is basically Whiskey Wonderland, but much bigger. It's the Friday of the Canada Day long weekend on June 29th. And this is a big concert. So this is actually going to be held in Rockland, but the headlining band we have coming back to do an acoustic set. They're actually going to be staying on the hill to do an acoustic set just for people who are on the hill. So again, this is a draw for us to really get people in your units, to have we're talking, bigger bands. Like these aren't your local bands. These are guys that tour around the country and down south and overseas. So really excited about that. This is just kind of starting now, but the links are actually embedded in those logos there. So feel free to go and check those out. And then as I've also mentioned, we have a snowshoe race. This is a picture here that's on this slide of the last one that we did. So we're doing that again this year through the trails at Hammond Hill. So our promotion, this is what we're all here for today, and I thank you for being with me this long, or this far through the presentation. So let's get into the meat of it now. Bruce is going to talk shortly on the ROI, but the fall promotion for Hammond Hill, again, we've mentioned this, open all year round. There's no seasonal shutdowns with the licensed beer garden, the Stars and Guitars, food truck, Whiskey Wonderland, lots of stuff happening. Of course, Canadian-made entrepreneurs, which is scheduled to air next fall. You will be featured in that. As we've discussed, here's the model that Jake is sitting in front of right now. We call it the Vanguard. It's the first to come out. It's the model that started it all for us. We did one of these seminars back in February of last year. We sold 18 of them in, I think it was 2 weeks or something along those lines. So we went through them pretty quickly. And we've just been able to open up these 8 more lots. So turnkey, 139.9 plus HST. There are some promotions that we're offering for all the guests on this, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But that includes everything. It's fully finished. It's got your linens, everything you need for your kitchen. Delivery will be on June 1st of 2024. The promotional stuff, which again, I'll get into a little bit more detail, but there's no payments. That should say June 1st, not May 1st, until June 1st of 2024. The reason for that is really the way that tiny homes are financed. It's a little tricky. It's still kind of a fringe product that not a lot of companies look at, but we do have a lender that will help us on that. But the loan has to be applied for now, and then you don't get it for 6 months from now. So we're covering those payments off. If you're self-financing, then you save $20,000. So if you have some cash in the bank, or you have a home equity line of credit, maybe a better interest rate, then you would save $20,000 off that price. Each unit has 2 queen beds, sleeps 4 comfortably. They are off-grid ready. To kind of go back to that question, if you're not parking them on Hammond Hill and you have a piece of property or something you want to put a tiny home on, we can certainly accommodate that. The dining area also turns into a sleeping area, so that's where your second queen bed is. Kitchen, stovetop, sink, mini fridge. Again, these are fully fit up and ready to go. 3-piece bathrooms. They're really beautiful units when you actually step into one. It is a lot in a small package, but you'll see when you get into them how spacious they actually feel. Yeah, Bruce.
So Nick, Pierce, as a detail guy, I know Pierce. Is the interior 118 square feet?
Yes. And then you have 200 square feet of deck out front.
So you have a deck, appears, and you have 118 square feet, but I don't know if that includes the second the loft. Does that, the 118 square feet, include the loft?
I don't believe so, Aaron. No. Okay. Yeah,
it doesn't. The loft is extra.
Floor space. Yeah.
Yeah. How much? Yeah. How many square feet is the loft, Aaron?
8 by 6, so just under 50 square feet.
Yeah, so it's about 168 or 170 square feet in total. And these guys, the designers, Mel and the team, have packed, Pierce, they have packed in a hell of a lot into a very small space. Like, they got 2 queen-size beds in this thing, you know, like this, mind you, but still they're there. And I'm quite impressed with that. And to give you an example, I have a number of tiny homes, including some at Hammond Hill, and you know, they vary in size from as small as 136 square feet to as large as 192 square feet. And Ann is asking, could you see this as a tiny house for seniors? And I'm not sure about that. That's something that only you could determine for yourself, or a senior could determine for herself or himself. But I just rented one of my other tiny houses. We call it the Woodland Studio, which is smaller than the Vanguard, to a nice young man. He's an actor and he's between gigs, so he can't afford a whole lot. But we rented it to him, and he has to be at least 6'3" or 6'4". So if you're not 6'3" or 6'4", you probably could use it. But I'll have to leave that for another time. I think we got another thumbs up from Pierce. So I guess it's back to you, Nick. I think I'm on the next slide.
Yeah, I will pass it off to you now, Bruce, and then Patrick, I'm assuming you're listening. You're coming up next after that one.
Yeah, all right. So this is my slide, and I have to tell you, I'm just a lowly engineer. I am not a tax attorney. I'm not an accountant. And everybody has to do their own, you know, analysis. And the reason that you might buy something, anything, or do anything at the end of the day is because it's an act of faith. You know, you kind of want to do it. Your heart says you're passionate about it. your gut says this is probably a good thing to do. And then you do some analysis too. So I always say you make the best decisions when your head, your heart, and your gut are all in alignment. So the spreadsheet is just part of that, right? So I did this spreadsheet for my wife and I, and the person who got me involved in Hammond Hill at buying a tiny home there was not me. It was my wife, Dawn. She really likes them. She likes the idea of being in a community. You know, you could put a tiny home on a lot somewhere by yourself, but you wouldn't have, you know, the golf course, and you wouldn't have the restaurant and the beer. I mean, craft beer. You wouldn't have all these cool events. And I don't know if anybody mentioned on this call that I think they've dug 3 or 4 lakes now, or ponds, which are swimmable ponds. I mean, there's tons of other kids, and we've got 5 kids and lots of grandkids. So Dawn wanted to buy this, and so I did a spreadsheet. So I'm the spreadsheet guy in our family, and Dawn is the instinct person in our family. You can see my numbers here. You should do your own numbers. And if you want to reach out to me for help with numbers, I'm always available. You can find me in the follow-up email. You just can't find me the rest of today. After this webinar is over, I'm watching US Thanksgiving football for the next 9 hours. But tomorrow I'll be back to work. So if you reach out to me, you can catch me then. So these are numbers that my wife and I were looking at. And we wanted to buy 2 small living company units. So we wanted, if you look on the right-hand side, those columns are the ones that we were really looking at. But even if you buy 1 small living company unit, you can still make some money with it, as well as, of course, you know, have a place for your family to have some fun. So HST in Ontario, for those who are not from Ontario, is 13%. You can see that up top there. The land lease is $350 per month. The cost of each unit is $139,000, almost $140,000. But as Nick said earlier, there is like a bonus here if you decide to purchase one. I think it's $20,000. But anyway, $139,900, and then there's about $18,000 of HST. Now, listen, you guys, I just found out today from my bookkeeper, and again, I'm not giving anybody a tax advice here, because if you call CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, and you talk to 3 agents and you ask them the same question, you're going to get 3 different answers. But my bookkeeper is very good. And so I asked her, holy smokes, since we're going to put this on short-term rentals when we're not using it, and short-term rentals or medium-term rentals are considered commercial, can we get our HST back? Can we get a big input tax credit refund? And she said, damn right you can. So I'm expecting, you know, a big refund, which goes to my wife, Dawn, and I think she's already planning how to spend it for Christmas. So you know, if you are registered for HST, either personally or your corporation, and you plan to use it at least mostly, I think, or at least partly for commercial, i.e. short-term rental or long-term rental, you should be able to get an input tax credit refund. HST is your friend. You may not think so, but it is if you operate some sort of business. All right, so that's so it's $158,000 cost, including HST. You have to put down a 10% deposit, which we did. If you're a rich dude, you got the money, you just give them the money. But if you're a poor professor like me, you put 10% down and you finance the rest. And then interest rates are not low. Canadian financial, our rate, I think, is about 8.75%. So that's in there. And we're amortizing it over, I think, 20 years. And then when we're not using it, we're planning to put it into the rental pool, either for short-term rentals or medium-term rentals. This analysis is only short-term rentals, all right? So we're looking at about a 60% occupancy over the year. And as I think Nick said earlier in this presentation, the fact that you know, the federal government is cracking down on, and municipalities are cracking down on Airbnb will actually benefit, I think, places like Hammond Hill, because it'll still be available, right? Because they have the right zoning. So 60% occupancy over the year generates a certain amount of money, and then you subtract from that your operating expenses, your financing, excuse me, I spelled financing wrong, your financing costs, your land lease, some contingencies, insurance, repairs, maintenance, etc. So you end up with about $783 a month if you have one unit, And there's a few economies of scale in this model. So if you had 2 units on site, and I just learned today, by the way, you can have 2 of these Vanguards plus a smaller Pioneer, which I didn't know, which is really cool. I don't even know if we have a picture of it, Nick, but those Pioneer cabins are fantastic. But I didn't include that. So you can make about $9,000 a year if you have 1 unit there. You could make, you know, more than double if you have 2. And I bet you if you added a Pioneer cabin, you might find that it's even better. If you're a rich dude, like I was saying earlier, you can calculate your cap rate. In other words, if you just had the money in your bank, you didn't have to go to Canadian Financial for financing like I did, then what is your net operating income? It's going to be probably close to $25,000 if all goes well, which I'm sure it will, or $52,000 if you have 2 units there, which gives you a cap rate of about 15 or 16%. That is damn good. If all of us on this call bought, you know, like townhouses in Toronto, we'd be lucky to get 2 or 3% cap rates. In LA, it's less than 2%. In Ottawa, it's probably 3.5% to 4.5% now, maybe 5% if we're lucky. But it's certainly not 15 or 16%. And given what interest rates are doing now, I think it's really important for all of us to find alternatives, A, that we like, and B, that can produce income for us. And certainly if you're borrowing at 7 or 8% or even 6% and your cap rate, like I said, on a Toronto townhouse is 3.5%, you'll lose money every month. And that's not really a lot of fun. I'm going to introduce Patrick Labreche. Now, he is the founder of Canadian Financial, and this guy is an encyclopedia about financing. I know very little about financing, and frankly, I don't want to know a whole lot. I rely on people like Patrick, who are really, truly knowledgeable. And one of his guys works with Patrick, Chris Hicks, helped my wife buy her tiny house at Hammond Hill, and it was like a no hassle process. And you know, within a few days, it was done. And Aaron and his team had the money, and my wife had her tiny house. It was really a good experience. And quite often these days, financing and refinancing is not a good experience. So I'm going to introduce you, or I have introduced you, Patrick. If you're still listening, and I know you're not feeling well, you can take over from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Bruce, for the introduction, and thanks, Nick and Aaron and Brad for having me on today. So I'm a bit under the weather, but I'll keep this pretty straightforward and simple. So I run a full call it a full spectrum brokerage. We specialize in helping businesses that sell expensive things by giving them dealer programs and being able to set them up to offer financing to their target audience. So we specialize in both B2C and B2B funding. So specifically with Hammond Hill, we have a really nice option where it's not secured against any real estate. So you can call it unsecured. I call it non-real estate secured. We secure it against the chassis of the tiny home that situates on the property at Hammond Hill. There used to be more than one lender that was able to fund these types of opportunities, but given the market conditions, you know, we still have a solid lender that's still funding them, but it used to be we used to have 3 of them. So not to give any negative news, but we do still have a lender that's funding these opportunities. Give or take, the down payments are not what they used to be. We used to be able to see 10% down. That's now a little bit higher up. And we can help raise those down payments through other methods, unsecured lending, or you know, if someone needs to refinance a vehicle to get the down payment capital, we can do those types of things. So we can be very creative, but there will be a form of a down payment that's required, and we can spread the payments over 15 to 20 years. It's a completely open loan after 6 months. So if you have existing properties that you're refinancing down the road and you want to blend that debt into your existing property, you can. But this would be something that is unsecured, non-tied against any real estate. It does need to be a profile of a good, you know, a good A profile, good income, good credit, good established credit, and you know, we can get an approval on these types of assets or in these types of loans, you know, within a day. So the turnaround time is very quick, and there's no appraisals or anything needed on these types of assets. So that's kind of the unsecured side. We can raise funds in different ways. Like if you're a business owner and you have tons of collateral like equipment, stuff like that, we could refinance, we could do secured real estate. There's an array of things that we can do to help raise the debt. But what Bruce was mentioning in his sheet was, I would say, the best way of doing it from a cash flow perspective, because you are amortizing the loan over a longer duration. So from a real estate investment standpoint, it just makes sense because you're cash flow positive month over month. But if there's, if your profile doesn't fit that type of product, we do have other products. So that's kind of on the retail side. On the commercial side, as this is outlined here, we have products, but they are for established businesses, with solid financials, good EBITDA. This will be a tougher product to get approved for, but if the criteria is there, if it's a good profile, we can definitely look at structuring a lease. It will be shorter term, so the monthly payment will be higher. Whereas what Bruce was mentioning on the previous slide, from again going back cash flow perspective, that's most likely the best product to tap into. But happy to set up a call with any of you guys, or if you ever have any opportunities and you just want some, just to pick my brain and see if we could do something for you, happy to set that up anytime.
Perfect. Thanks, Patrick. And I just want to go a couple of things on both of those slides for everybody. I want to point out that we have this calculated at 60% occupancy. I use that number for clients just to really lock in the busy season. But as we've mentioned several times, we don't shut down in the winter. But to play around with that number a little bit, a stress test, if you will, I've dropped that down to 40%, and you're still performing well on your cap rate. It's still giving you a profit. So you are cash flow positive pretty much from June 1st, from June 1st when you take delivery, you're cash flow positive on this investment. And to Patrick's point, there are some creative ways to deal with the down payment. We've done this with Bruce and a few other of our customers. So it helps when the companies you're working with, like Canadian Financial and specifically Patrick and Chris, that are willing to work with you so they can work with the lender. So it really is, as Bruce said, an easy process to get through. Right now the banks, if anybody's tried to go and get a mortgage in the past 6 months, the banks are kind of shuttering. So this is the time to get in. And these lenders that we're working with are all A lenders from bigger banks.
Just before you go on, Nick, Brad, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Brad, you are an expert in Airbnb and short-term rentals. You work for a company called Hostfully, I think, which is obviously very involved in the short-term rental business. The question has come up, I think Pierce again and some others, is $200 a night and 60% year-round, overall year-round occupancy realistic?
Yes, it 100% is. The average for the Ottawa area is 59%, as you saw in the previous slide. And that's actually decreased a little bit since the city of Ottawa implemented their ban on short-term rentals, whereas we don't actually have that ban out at Hammond Hill. So 60% is very realistic. And yes, 200 a night. We've been operating at 150 a night simply because we want to attract visitors. We want to get more exposure to the hill. So we've decreased the price on purpose, but that will be going up to $250 once we start doing these bigger events and the summers progress.
Yeah, I think Pierce and everybody on the call, and thanks for sticking with us again. This event thing is incredibly important. Again, if you're in the middle of nowhere and you have a tiny house, well, you go out there and you hopefully enjoy the woods. But Hammond Hill has a great deal more. We've tried to drill that, drill down on that. If you think about it, it's called programming. It's incredibly important. I've been involved in programming for a very long time, whether you're running a camp or you're running a glamping facility, or you're running the Ottawa Senators, or you're running, a Sensplex, which is, a 4 arena field house complex. Programming is what drives occupancy and drives rates. It's really, really, really important. And Jake has just volunteered to give everybody a sneak peek of his unit. I hope you made your bed, Jake. So, Jake, are you going to give us a sneak peek?
I'm going to stop sharing.
All right. So we may have lost audio, but the most important thing is let's go inside.
I'm still here.
Oh, there you go. We can hear you now.
But come on inside.
All right.
Weather's nice out.
If you're a penguin. Wow.
Here we are.
Can we have a look at your Cinderella toilet? That seems to be the head of the show today.
Just a little peek inside. The kitchen.
Yeah.
Kind of first thing you walk in. Bathroom at the back.
Yeah.
Little coat rack.
Very cool. Nice. Are you going to show us can you hear me okay? Can you show us the Cinderella toilet? We just got to show everybody. It's made for princesses, right, Nick?
Yeah.
That's right. Glass slippers and all.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're
here.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive, but how are you finding them? Do they work?
I'm finding them really great, actually. Compared to composting toilets, which I do have some experience with, especially in a rental. It's a no hassle, no smell.
Yeah, that's
very
great.
functional.
Now, can we see the two beds?
So the one bed is behind here.
Yeah.
Work area. There's a Murphy bed, so you pack up the table, folds down, the benches fold up, then it swings down.
Yeah,
all
cool.
his linens and stuff. The other bed is upstairs.
Oh, very nice.
In the loft.
Oh, this is awesome. That is a really good tool. And does that window upstairs open? I can't remember.
Yeah, all the windows open.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nice kind of picture frame window. Good to wake up and check the weather in the morning.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, by the way, where do you sleep? Upstairs or downstairs?
I sleep upstairs. I
Okay.
use this downstairs as a work area.
Sense. Yeah.
And storage under the table.
Well, for me, I'm sleeping at grade, and my grandkids are going upstairs. Well, that was awesome, Jake. Thank you. All right, Nick. Sorry about that. Back to you.
That's okay. Yeah, so I'll just we're running low on time here, and I promise everybody we get out on time. So I just, again, to emphasize a couple of these, no payments until June 1st, 2024. Again, the key piece, and Patrick hit on it a little bit, we have to finance, we can't finance these because they're not homes, so we can't do mortgages on them. But if you think car loan, because they are built on a trailer chassis, which are custom made and welded specifically for small living company, and then we finance it using the VIN number. So we have to purchase those now and start building the home to get it ready for June 1st. But in order for you not to be making payments until it's making money, small living company will, as a promotion, if you're going the Canadian financial route, cover those payments for you up until June 1st, 2024. And also, as mentioned, you can save $20,000 if you're looking at self-financing this using a home equity line of credit, or if you have $20,000 saved up in a piggy bank, then we'll happily, or sorry, you have the money saved up in a piggy bank, we'll save you $20,000 off the purchase price. And another promotion for every committed sale that comes through this webinar, you'll get a free night stay with us in 2024. So you can come and experience it, have a look around, and check out the restaurant and the food and all the great stuff that we have to offer you in Hammond. This is the village itself. So can you see my cursor on the screen there, Bruce? I can't hear you. Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is, I talked about the derecho storm. So all of this part of the forest back here is all native to the land. This was actually a planted forest, kind of in this yellow circle here, which is actually our roadway. This is our big lake back here. It's our swimming lake. Our wedding venue, which is a huge venue, is back here. This area here is open concert area. So we'll be doing some bigger concert venue things out there. We can have up to 300 to 500 people just in this area. That's all really nice sandy beach, and we have a jute village up here, which are some glamping tents. These here are the tiny home lots. So phase one is these lots right here. These ones are all sold out. That was our first event. We don't have them all cut out here, but phase two is basically going to be going in here. These are some sand dunes. We have actually Bruce's lot is going to be in here. So we have a few more to add, but this is going to be mostly where phase two is located, and what will be getting serviced and everything in the spring for next year. So we have 50 total units plotted over 4 phases. This is going to be controlled though. We do want to make sure that we're not oversaturating it with too many rental units, hence why we're only releasing 8 at a time. So we're not going to be doing any big splash sales, and everybody who owns on Hammond Hill will be given first dibs. If they wanted to add units, they'll be made that first offer.
That's
here's
cool.
the Vanguard model down here, which we've already talked about, so I won't go back into that. But yeah, so there's really great incentives there, and you really, to appreciate this property, you really have to go and have a visit. Down here by the number 4 there, that's our yurt village. So again, another glamping offering. Our beer tent is here, kids parks, bathrooms here, parking, and we're going to have a little fishing lake right up here for kids to learn to fish. So again, lots of really great stuff. We will have, I don't know if I mentioned this actually, next year we'll be hosting the outdoor market, the Rockland Outdoor Market, which is going to be located here. So anybody staying on site, any guests that are coming, they'll be able to go pick up farm fresh eggs, just local goods from various vendors in the area. So you're not having to rush into the supermarket. Just
Nick,
added experience, if you will.
Nick, we got a couple more questions for you.
Yep.
If somebody's interested in Eganville, can they reach out to you and talk to you more about that?
They sure can. Yep.
So Jake, would you put Nick's contact, just because he's doing the presentation? Can you just put Nick's email address, if you don't mind, in the chat box? And so reach out to Nick, and you already have Jake's email, so you can reach out to either Jake or Nick if you're interested in Eganville. It'll be a little later on next year, as Nick said earlier, but Eganville, that is a fantastic opportunity too. I know that site real well. It's the second best fishing lake in Ontario, at least that's what they tell me. The last question that we have, I think, time for, because we're just about out of time now, is what does your crystal ball say, Nick? Will the price of these units, what will happen to the price of these tiny homes in 5 years? What will happen to the value of the site? So my wife and I, we've got a land lease, and we own the rights to that particular site. Will that become more valuable over time? Will the tiny house depreciate? Will it appreciate? What's your crystal ball on both of those issues?
So I'll touch on the land first. I mean, as we add servicing to the land, as well as just land and its inability to expand, where it's a limited resource, so the value of the land ultimately will go up. I do encourage people to sign those land leases for longer terms. There's no cancellation penalty if you decide you want to put your tiny home somewhere else. As far as the tiny homes themselves, they're built on chassis, not on foundations, but they are built at a higher quality than from a code perspective than a traditional home, because they have to be rigid structures. So part of this going into the future will be a resale option, and I certainly, I mean, there's no guarantees in life, but my prediction would be that they will go up in value. And the other piece here that I'll say really quickly, because I got a minute left, is that if you were to just punch tiny home in and all the things that are coming down the pipe with tiny homes right now as an affordability and a sustainable option for people looking to actually be homeowners, as municipal laws change, so too will the demand for tiny homes, and it will simply become a supply and demand offering, and will push the value of these homes up for sure. Just so everybody knows, I'm going to be sending this out. I'll let everybody go here. There is a link here. This is to reserve your spot in line. We're also going to send this out in an email. So you'll be able to click the link. Again, we have to do this on first come, first serve because there's only 8 sites available. You can have 2 on each site, but click that link there or the one that comes in your email. As soon as we get this downloaded onto YouTube, we'll fire the entire presentation over to you. Of course, that's my direct contact information there, as well as in the chat box. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to sit in there, schedule a call with you and go over them all.
Yeah, okay, so we're at 1 o'clock now, and Lisa, are you still there? If you could, just because I'm struggling with my chat box for some reason, Lisa, if you could put the link, if somebody wants to reserve their spot, can you put the link in the chat box for me and make sure that everybody can see it? You can copy it out. So what you have in the chat box, guys, men and women, is you have Jake's contact information, Nick's contact information. Lisa will put the link into the where you can go and reserve. It's a nice online form. And if you can't find it, you'll see it in a follow-up email. This is a great opportunity to be part of something. The motto of the tiny house movement is less house and more life. And I'm all for that. I want to thank everybody for showing up today. Nick, you did a great job. Jake, you were fantastic. Thanks, Brad and Aaron and Lisa for setting it up. And look, you guys, you all stuck through to the end. I can't say how much I appreciate that. It's so nice. And again, it's U.S. Thanksgiving. Great for the south of the border, folks. And early Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Well done, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.